record on this. Okay, so we're going to talk about the handouts. And before that, let me just make sure that people in the room, in the virtual room, you have your handouts that were sent to you a couple of times this week again. So the first one would be the agenda. Then you have access to our Marinas and Yacht Club toolkit or packet. Then you have also access to the California OES booklet. And in addition to that, you have access to some of the recommended spill resource materials and the frequently asked questions for the OSPR, oil spill response equipment grants. So before we get to know who's here today, I want to have the opportunity for my colleagues with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, Office of Spill Prevention and Response to introduce yourself. So Cindy, please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Cindy Murphy. I am the Tribal Liaison Officer for the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, Office of Spill Prevention and Response. I also do outreach and grants. So I will be talking a little bit about grants later this morning. So really happy that you're here. Thank you for traveling in person. I think these events are better when we can see each other face to face, but I do appreciate everybody online as well, because I know sometimes travel is difficult, especially around the Bay Area. So really happy that you're all here. So look forward to having more conversations. Thank you.
My name is Mike Calipari. I'm out of the Fairfield, the Northern Field Response Team out of Fairfield. We're behind like Belly Jelly and Budweiser behind there. So I handle the whole Bay Area, essentially north of Monterey to Utica. So there's 4 of us, and so we just handle all the boats that sink, and we work close with the wardens. So yeah, that's about it.
Let me ask the people in joining us virtually, is the sound okay, or should I ask our speakers to speak up a little bit more? Feel free to let us know in the chat. And
Okay.
can they speak up, please? Yes, thank you.
Hello, I'm Pete Jordan, I'm the Wildlife Officer from California Fish and Wildlife, OSPR, Spill Prevention and Response. Just want to say hi to everybody there. Hello. Anyways, hey, thank you for coming. I think these meetings are really important, and I really truly believe in-person meetings are the best way possible. I understand travel is hard, but this is great here. So thank you for coming, and we'll be doing. I know a few of you, so good to see everybody that I know.
Fantastic.
Before we move on, I just want to introduce the owl to everybody here. Has anyone seen one of these before? Okay. So the owl will actually follow the speaker around. So it's audio and visual. So those folks online can see all of you and hear you when you ask questions. So it's just a little better to interact with folks online and in person. So this is what we call the owl, the hoot. We haven't actually named it yet, but officially it's the owl.
Thank you. So now I'm going to tell you who's here with us today. It will take a little bit of time for everybody in the room and also online to introduce themselves. So I created a map to show you where you guys are joining us from. And really quickly, we have people from Alameda, Contra Costa, El Dorado, Humboldt, Los Angeles, Marin, Merced, Orange County, Placer, Riverside, Sacramento, San Bernardino, San Diego, San Francisco, San Luis Obispo, San Mateo, Santa Barbara, Santa Clara, and also Riverside. So great representations. And of course, we have people representing public, private marinas, as well as yacht clubs. We also have sailing groups, recreational boaters of California. We also have Coast Guard Auxiliary, city, counties, and other state agencies. So welcome everybody to our workshop. Let me see. Perfect. All right, so let's quickly review the agenda. And after the introductions, I'm going to quickly give you an overview of why we're here today. And then we're going to switch gears and we will have our colleagues with the Office of Spill Prevention and Response. And from now on, I'm going to say OSPR rather than entire long name, who will be talking about the California spill structure. So we get a better understanding from a bird's eye view perspective, how the structure works. Then I'll be taking over and I'll be talking about the packet that you received today, why we created and some of the resources for you. Then we'll have questions in between both presentations. So again, for our people joining us virtually, make sure we refrain from using the chat. Not that I don't want you to communicate, but sometimes we get nervous because we don't know if something is happening. If there's something that is happening, let us know, but that will help to avoid distraction. Then we will have a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back and talk about real case scenarios of spills that have happened within, inside of a marina or outside the marina, what has worked or not. And finally, we're going to wrap it up by talking about the spill response equipment grants, among others. All right. So what you're learning today. So based on the information that you receive via email or the flyer or via social media that brought you here, and as we clearly stated, we're going to be learning about the California oil spill response structure. We're also going to learn about the California's Marinas and Yacht Club spill response communication packet, spill case studies, lessons learned, and best practices. And finally, as I mentioned already, we're going to be talking about the grants and why you're here today. We decided to create these workshops with many research and data collection that we have done throughout these years, basically to invite you to stop and get out of your routine. Come here, refresh your memory about some concept or protocols, or either learn new information that will help you and your facility to tune up some protocols that you may have. For us, it is important that we are all proactive, right? That the goal is to make sure that we prevent spills. But at the same time, to make sure if that an emergency happens, we work as a team, because that's a better result, working as a team always. In addition to that, we want you to feel that this is a safe environment to ask questions. Don't feel that because we have representatives from some enforcement agencies that they are going to enforce anything. No, the point we're here is for education. We want you to feel relaxed and ask as many questions as possible, because that's the purpose of this educational workshop. So even if you have the silliest question, if you have the question, it's because you don't have a response, and we'll try to do our best to respond to you. In addition to that, we wanted to bring the experts to you, so in the future, you can have them as a resource to ask any questions that you may need. And also to make sure that you tune up some protocols that you may have already or not in place. All right, so we are going to try new tools in technology. So we're going to ask some questions to our people here in the room. And I'm going to launch right now a poll for our friends who are joining us virtually. So let me just launch the question. So I would appreciate that everybody joining us right now in virtually take your time and please respond to the question that I just posted for you. My friends here cannot see it, so I'm just going to read the question to you. It says, do you know who is your county office of emergency services? So the responses are, no, I don't know, but please teach me. Yes, I know. So let's be sincere. How many of you know who your county office of emergency service contact is? And it's okay to say, I don't know. That's why we're here, right? So how many of you seriously don't have a clue? Don't look at them. Don't look at them. We don't care that you're right.
The name of the person?
Yeah, the name. So if you have any question, you know who that person is. How many of you do not know? Raise your hand. Okay, perfect. So let's end the poll for my people here in the room. Probably you saw that a bunch of them raise their hand. They don't have a clue. And let me see the people virtually joining us. 60% of the participants say, like you guys, don't know. 39, yes, I know. Perfect. So I'm sharing the results right now with you. And we're going to move into the next question. So let me stop sharing and I'm going to launch the second question for my people joining us here. So bear with me. We're going to have question 2. All right, and I'm going to launch the question. So people virtually, please read it and take your time to respond. I'll give you a minute. And for our people joining us here, does your facility have a spill plan in place? The responses are no, my facility doesn't have a spill plan in place. Yes, and I don't know. So what do you guys think? Do you have it or don't have it? And if you don't have it, it's okay to say, I don't know. That's why we're here, right? So how many of you do have a spill plan in place? Okay, fantastic. Let's just end the poll here and share the results. So I would say that I saw most of the hands up. So let's say 90% of the people here said yes. And in our virtual room, we have that 81% said yes, and 20 people say, I don't know. All right, let's move into a third question. Let me go back and just look for the third question, and we're going to launch it. All right, so my people here, it says, do you know what your neighboring marina and yacht club have in terms of oil spills response equipment? Oh no, I don't have any clue. Or yes, I know. So again, how many of you know what my neighboring either marina or boatyard or yacht club has in terms of a spill response equipment? Or how many of you have even shared that information with your neighboring marina? Raise your hand if you don't have any clue or don't know. Okay, all right. So let me end the poll here and share the results. So my friends in the virtual room said 77% don't have any clue. 23%, which is like 5%, 5 people said yes. And just to share with the virtual people, people here said approximately, I would say 100% said, no, I don't know. All right, let's go to the fourth question. And I'm going to launch it here. Let's see, back, let me see. Stop sharing, and now we're going to launch. The fourth question says, how do you report an oil spill at your facility? First option, I don't report it, but I make sure it is prevented in the future. Second option, to be honest, I don't have any clue. And the third option is I report to both the National Response Center and the State Warning Center. So what do you guys think? Last option, 3. Okay, are we in agreement? Fantastic. I'm going to end the poll here and share the results. So my friends virtually joining us, the entire room said that would be option 3. And here in our virtual room, we had 12% said, to be honest, I don't know. And 88% said the National Response Center and the State Warning Center. All right. Moving along. The last question that we have for you. And let me ask the question. All right. Have you heard about the oil spill response equipment grants? How many of you have heard about it? Raise your hand. Okay, like I would say 95%. And the people virtually joining us. Okay, let's see what they say. All right. And the poll, share the results. So virtually people say 68% yes, 32% say, oops, nope, I don't have any clue. What do you think, Cindy, here in the room was like 100%? Yeah. People here in the room said 100%. Yes. All right. So that's excellent. So a little bit of, engaging our brains in this session, because some of the questions that we ask you are going to be covered today. And that's why we wanted just to test your knowledge before you're exposed to the knowledge. All right. So a little bit of context and why we're here today. So as a result of a large oil spills incidents that have happened across the state, we decided to start working closer together, not only federal, state, local agencies, but also boating facilities in order to increase communication capabilities in case of a spill. So,
Turn it on.
oh, I think it worked. No? Okay, thank you. So a few years back, we created a working group in order to deal with or tackle a bunch of information and gaps, or increase that communication between the state, federal agencies, local governments, as well as marinas and yacht clubs. And as you can see here, we had representation from the marina industry, not only yacht clubs, but also we had a representation from the public and private marinas, including also the state and federal agencies. And as a result of that working group, we created the communication packet that you are receiving today, with the purpose of helping you guys based on the input we received by your colleagues at that time in terms of what to do in case a spill happens inside or outside the facility, how you can get the latest and greatest information, what you need to do in order to protect your facility or respond to a spill. In addition to that, we decided, okay, now we have to put together educational workshops in order to be able to communicate that content of the toolkit. So we have had, believe it or not, 19 workshops across the state where we have reached to over 500 participants. And last year, we launched version 2 of the workshop, which is the one that you are joining us today, with the purpose of focusing more on real case scenarios. Why we did that? Every time that we finish one of our workshops, we ask you to help us with an evaluation form that help us to better orient our education and outreach efforts. We want to hear from you because you are on the ground and you can tell us what information you need from us to be able to work as a team. And that was one of the recommendations. Please talk to us about real case scenarios. What has worked and hasn't worked for you as a state and for us as an industry, right? So that's why we're here today. Another outcome of this effort is, unfortunately, we have had experienced some spills, like just to name one, the Orange County spill that happened a couple of years ago. And thanks to efforts like this, we were able to work closer together with the Coast Guard, with the Office of Spill Prevention and Response, through communication directly with all the facilities that were impacted at that time. So that has increased the real transparency and the communication the state has with you guys, so you don't drive yourself crazy and don't know what to do and how to direct the boating community if they need to decontaminate their vessels, among others. So now we're going to transition to the first item in the agenda. So I'm super excited here to introduce you to Peter, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we're going to share again sorry, take me a minute here. And for our people joining virtually, let us know if you have any questions at this point. Let me make sure that I utilize this one probably and share the screen with the right one and share the sound. And okay, so Cindy, do we have any questions from the people joining us virtually?
Yeah.
Nope, not yet. Any questions so far about what we have covered? Are we doing okay? Fantastic. So it's all yours.
Thank you.
All right.
Hi, Peter again. So welcome. This is their OSPR overview. See this. What is the correct button?
These are, yes, they are. Is that working? Probably shouldn't have turned it off.
Sorry. Technical difficulties. That's okay. I could push a button here.
Okay.
Hi,
Sorry,
that's all right.
it's gonna drive me nuts now.
There we go.
There you
I'll just use that. That'll work. So this is the outline of the talk. California pollution loss, Osprey field response teams, and then we'll get into case studies as we go. So the kind of the organization of the department starts with the governor's office and it goes into the natural resource agency and fields down to the Department of Fish and Wildlife into OSPR, Office of Spill Prevention and Response. So we're going to keep going OSPR. Most of us know OSPR from that. So our goal and our mission is to the best achievable protection of California's natural resources by preventing, preparing for, and responding to spills of oil and restoring affected resources. So obviously, we all have different job duties and do different events and do our jobs. I'll explain further as we go. Sorry, won't make sense yet. So key events in our history. First, we have this one is Platform A in Santa Barbara. It's a 4 million gallons of fuel spilt. That was in 1969 and it killed roughly 3,400 seabirds. And
I'm going to stop you for a sec. Sorry, it seems that they're not seeing the presentation, so bear with us for a sec.
I think they're seeing a different slide.
If people in virtually, can you tell us exactly what you're seeing? I'm just going to stop sharing here.
Yeah, they're saying they're seeing a different slide. They're seeing the first slide. instead of
Okay,
the
so
main
let
screen.
me just make sure that we close everything. You can unmute, okay. Okay,
Okay, let me ask them. They can see it.
bear with us for a sec. I'm just going to share again. Okay, can you see now the slide that says key events? Somebody, if you can just unmute yourself and let us know so it's faster.
Yes, they can see it.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So I'm going to back it up a little bit again. If you don't mind, Peter,
Yeah.
can I just back it up for a sec?
back it up.
All right,
Well, it's a good spot anyway, so I can start right here. I can repeat.
that one?
Yeah, that's fine. That'll work.
Okay, perfect. So hold on for a sec. People in the room, we're making it work. Okay, if somebody can tell me if you're seeing the full screen right now where we see a slide says outline of talk. Just,
Yes, from Charlie,
okay, fantastic. Thank you.
from Kendra, everyone. can-
Well, good. We got that fixed. I'm glad. Hi. Anyway, so coming back, this is kind of the outline of the talk. We'll bump through that one.
You can probably, yeah.
All right, so this is our organization again, kind of briefly covered it up real quick, talked about it. And I'll get further into that as it works further in the future. And the mission, again, it's the best achievable protection of California's natural resources by preventing and preparing for and responding to the spills of oil and restoring the affected resources. Key events. So again, this is Platform A in Santa Barbara in 1969. This is one of the key spills that occurred. It roughly killed 3,400 seabirds and injured a lot of sea life. But this one started was this beginning of the environmental movement as it is modern times today. So that was a key takeaway from that spill. It was a blowout that the underwater blowout from the pipeline. In 1989, Exxon Valdez happened in the Prince William Sound in Alaska, 11 million gallons. So at that time, that was the biggest in the United States, biggest oil spill. That killed 280,000 seabirds, a few thousand orcas, other marine mammals, and marine life. So that incident caused us to, well, this not just us, but the state, because we didn't exist back then, but that caused more concern for responsibility of who's going to clean it up, who's going to take care of it. So coming back into 1990, a year later, the American trader ran over its anchor, puncturing its hull, releasing 416 thousand gallons. Not the biggest spill in the world compared to some, if you go around the world, there's spills just ridiculously huge. But this one in particular, that caused us to create the Oil Spill or Oil Pollution Act, OPA. And that basically is required, whoever spills it is responsible for cleaning it up and paying for it. And that started the whole process of where we are nowadays. And in 1990, that is also, so that was in 90, in from OPA, it caused, there was lawsuits and basically became the Lamborghini Sea-Strand Oil Spill Prevention and Response Act. And it established OSPR. This act right here, I'm sorry, going back one slide, or it established OSPR the way it is today. So if you look on the screen, you can see we're split up into 3 different areas. So North Field Response, the Central Field Response, and the blue is the Southern Field Response teams. And we're organized in such a manner that we can cover on a 24-hour basis the entire state. In 2014, new legislation passed. The bill was presented and passed, and it brought not just marine waters into the fold, but it also brought inland waters and lakes. So now we cover the entire state. So vehicles, everything. Later on in 2021, renewable fuels started coming into play more and more frequently. And there is another bill that got passed, and that bill added renewable fuels are seen from OSPR in the state as petroleum product. They're viewed the same. There's no difference. The jurisdiction now covers everything. So we're looking at roadways, train derailments, train yards, vehicles, pipelines, anything that has a nexus to water. If oil is going to get on the surface of water, OSPR is going to be involved. It doesn't have to physically be there. It has to be able to get there, reasonably able to. Obviously, our jurisdiction runs everywhere, but we are the public trustees for the state, and we are one of the leading agencies in the nation for oil pollution. There's some other states starting to step it up now. Similar to what we do, but we kind of were the forerunners, OSPR. So we have a mandated evolution. So pollution response, incident command, and criminal investigation. So if there's an incident, I'm talking about, we respond physically or telephonically respond to that incident, depending on how large it is, what it looks like. And again, everything depends on the size. And if we're going to set up an entire incident command center, which will be everybody from a state on-scene coordinator, and then we divide it down in environmental unit, operations units, but we also have our federal partners and the responsible parties. And we found out a couple years ago with the pipeline spills in Southern California, the local on-scene folks are really helpful in that. So we're bringing the local on-scene coordinators as well. It used to be, it was just the federals, state, federal, and the owners. So now we're learning to bring locals into the fold as well, because they have the expertise in this, in the area. Our functions are prevention, preparedness, response, and restoration. Like I've said that a few times. Prevention, we're going around, we check boats, as you can see in that photo. We look at pipelines. We go to small marinas. We also are working on the grant trailers at some of the smaller marinas, so we can help prevent and prepare for the spills. We drill with spills as part of the preparedness. We respond to spills all over the state. One day I live in Petaluma, so I went to Truckee in the snow, and then the same day I was on a boat in Tomales Bay, or a sunk vessel. It spans around. And the restoration portion of it, it's a longer process for that, because it takes longer to rehab the restoration. And to me, that's the key, really important, is get the land or the sea back to where it was, if not better than it was prior to the spill or incident. So I'm a wildlife officer. I'm part of the field response team. we have environmental scientist, and we have oil spill prevention specialist. Says the wildlife officer, we're state peace officers, so we have, our jurisdiction is the state and other states, but we're enforce traffic laws, everything a normal police officer does, plus fish and wildlife laws. And when we're assigned to OSPR, our focus is oil spills. We are the state on-scene coordinators or incident commanders when there's a spill. So it'd be myself, if I was in my area, then I'd have a local, one of the Coast Guard incident commanders with me. And then, as I was saying, the owner or responsible party. And if it's a larger incident and have specific knowledge or needs, we'll bring in a local on-scene coordinator. If not, the locals will be put in a different area because we need their expertise as well. And we'll get the job done. Part of it is criminal investigation. So with these spills, there's usually, not always, but there's usually a criminal aspect to it. So we, as the wildlife officers, we have to determine if we're going to file a case with the DA's office or AG office, depending on what's going on. And in doing so, we sometimes bifurcate that. So when I mean bifurcate, if I was the on-scene coordinator and the spill is really large or it's intricate, I won't be doing the criminal investigation as well, because that would make could make the responsible party not want to talk during the incident command meetings, because they think, well, he's the investigator, he's going to use this information against me. So we'll bifurcate that and we'll bring another wildlife officer specifically just for the investigation. And that investigator might be at the command center, but they're not part of the meetings. They're there just because they have a station to be at, but they're doing an investigation completely separate from the response. So a lot of times, if you're reading the media and newspaper, you're seeing what's going on with the response, because criminal investigation is not talked about. We don't share that information until our case is final and it gets submitted, and then it's up to the DA's office if they want to put that out to the press or not.
Peter, can you do that? So investigations, is that part of the response or is that separate?
It can be both, but it's separate. So if it's usually with the smaller one vessel sinking, if I was the incident commander for that, I'm going to do the investigation as well. But if it's a larger incident, say like there's a spill at a refinery, we'll have an incident commander, a wildlife officer there for that command, but I'll have a separate officer doing the criminal investigation completely separate from the response. So the pollution response role, so for the environmental scientists, these are the folks that have more education than I do. Please turn off your cell phone. So I have, I studied law. Actually, I was an art major at Humboldt, so how I got this job, I don't know, but I did. Count my blessings for that. But so environmental scientists, these are environmental unit leaders, the wildlife branch director, the established resources at risk, shoreline cleanup and assessment. That's huge because they got to go find the oil. A lot of times they also run our environmental unit, or our volunteers to help with that sort of thing, but they all have to be cleared. And the cleanup and monitoring assessment. And the key point for me, or the most helpful, is the endpoints. They help us determine when that incident is clean. What's the goal? What's the end point to finalize that cleanup? And when we hit that goal, that's when it's finalized. And an end point for me is not just the oil's cleaned up, it's the restoration portion of that as well. The oil spill prevention specialist, who you will hear from in a little while, they typically set up the initial site safety. There are our operations unit. They monitor the air monitor for the responders only. So if there's a big incident, we're going to have the counties, or usually a CUPA or a hazardous response team will monitor air for the public and outreach for that. We just don't have the equipment for that or the means. That's more for the responders themselves. They do quantifications for the hazardous waste. That means quantifications are basically finding out what was spilled, how much was spilled, how much the potential was. So a lot of times a fuel tank might have a 4,000 gallon capacity and not only has 600 gallons in it. Well, they do the math for that, but they're also what was lost. So the calculations are very difficult because it's not just cleaning up, you got oily debris, so they gotta be able to quantify a leaf that has oil on it, know how much that is, and it's a difficult thing that there is a mathematical equation to it that I don't know because they are the experts, not me. They work with the salvage operations, maritime pipeline subject matter experts. They are absolutely the experts. They all come from, we have 4 in a Northern Field Response Team. Every field response team has a different number, but our guys, they come from, typically they're from the Coast Guard, and they've experienced the oil and that sort of side of it. We also have private sector guys from pipelines for the marine area working on vessels. So they are definitely the experts, and they help with the cause analysis, causal. Basically tell us what happened, how that pipeline exploded, or was it a puncture? The OES reports, everybody is aware that they do make. So you make the federal report and the OES report, the state report that we all talked about earlier. So on these reports, you know, you're gonna make 2 phone calls minimum. And it can be annoying during incidents because I know they take long. And especially when you have things you want to start doing, get boom deployed, people are asking you the questions and you're like, come on, this is an obvious answer, but it's really important to get this information out. So please take your time with these notifications. And for myself, because when I get these notifications, I need to know a location, the volume that's spilled, and the capacity or potential that could spill, the owner's information, so who the owner is, the responsible party, their phone number, the contact information. And they're gonna ask you for more than that, but that's what I look for in the locations. So when so if I'm on call, there's the field response team, we're on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We rotate that schedule. So whoever's on call, the entire team will get this notification, and usually the wardens, the wildlife officers, will make determination if we're gonna go out, physically respond or telephonic respond. We usually start with the telephone. Hey, what's going on? And we're almost all of the wildlife officers. Key thing, whoever we get a hold of, the marina or the owners, we're gonna ask for photos. If you can text us photos, because that will really help determine whether we need to go or how big or small. That's gonna help determine if we're gonna need an entire team and an army of people. But it's super important. So when we call, please answer those phones. There's a lot of times the phone numbers on these OES reports, people don't answer the phone because they're busy, probably putting out a boom or whatnot, but that's really important for us. And you're also gonna get a phone call from the Coast Guard, and they're gonna ask the same questions I asked. So sometimes you go, hey, the Coast Guard called me, and you can put us, if you text both of us at the same time on it, it's easy. So that's one text with 2 different numbers, and because we're gonna ask the same questions. And then we also talk to each other, the feds and us, about the response and what's gonna take place at that.
Peter, one thing I would add is
Yeah.
make sure you have when you report it, if you can provide a cell phone number instead of a desk phone. Cause that's happened, I think, you're calling, our wards are trying to call back and it's a desk phone, and of course, where are you guys at? You're out where the incident is, so it might be helpful just to provide your cell phone. And again, that way you can, do a group text or whatever with us and with Coast Guard, or, that just works a lot better.
Yeah, we get a lot of times these come in right when at closing hour. So I call that number that they just left, but it's 5 o'clock, so they've already left the office. Or they're responding, but that office is empty now. So yes, cell phones would be great. So I kind of was talked about this, the initial actions at the site. So we assess it based on the photos or physically going there. And that's going to let us know what additional resources we need. And if we're going to need to establish that incident command setup and locations, that will be needed. And it's going to determine the incident command roles and responsibilities and authorities. So most of your marinas, we're going to look at it. A lot of the marinas are going to be a sunk vessel. So it's going to be a lot cleaner, and I don't know if it's cleaner or simpler, but it's more, it won't be as large. So we're going to get boom deployed, but usually we're not going to have to set up a full incident command center for a smaller vessel. the incident conclusion. So do we terminate the emergency response phase? So sometimes there's a fire in a marina. So that's an emergency going on. And first and foremost, we're going to take care of human life first. So make sure everybody's safe and out of the area. Then we're going to address the issue, the spill, the petroleum and whatnot, what issue is. So once that initial phase is done, and when I'm saying the initial phase, I'm also talking it's under control. The spill is under control. Then we're going to determine those endpoints, and that's very important. That's the key. And we have to document the environmental damage. We have a natural resource damage assessment team, and that's all they do is they have the knowledge and experience that I don't, and the education that I don't, and they can say what's been damaged, and they help our environmental scientists determine what is needed for this restoration. Because the spill might have occurred in a small marina, but the oil might have traveled 2 miles down the road to a Native American spot or a historic heritage location that's been destroyed now. So we need to know trajectories, number one, but how to fix that. What's going on? Maybe there's a snowy plover nest nearby that we didn't know about. So we're going to have to address all those issues and restore it. And after every issue or incident, we have a after action report and sometimes civil litigation, depending on what's going on. So with the civil litigations, usually we're doing cost recovery and potential other vessels in your marinas that could have been damaged by that sunk, but that's going to be on those owners. This is for OSPR. We have after action reports, civil litigation, and on top of that, we also have a criminal investigation. And that is it for myself. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. You put it emails out. I'm sure they're going to send out email list.
Yeah,
Email me.
yeah, thank you, Peter, so much. So this is the time for questions. And let me stop sharing the screen here. And let me check with the people joining us virtually. Is the sound okay, as well as the access to the slides? Are you doing okay?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thumbs up. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that was a wonderful presentation. It was informative.
Excuse me, your sound is really not coming through very well.
She said it was a very informative
Okay.
presentation, but Peter did also.
Oh, excellent. But we want to get your questions. So for people who are in the room, as well as the people joining us virtually, do you have any question for Peter? And let me mention to you that once we're done, you all, including virtually and people here, will be receiving an email with the links to all the handouts you received today, all of our contact information, so you can save it and much more. So let's say after today, you let the information settle down and you have additional questions, you can always reach out to us. Any questions? So yes, Curtis, feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question, please.
Yeah, hi, Mike, how you doing? We talked on the phone once before. I'm the harbor master at Sausalito and at Clipper Yacht Harbor in Sausalito, California. And I wanted to ask you about the HAZWOPER training. I don't know if that's something I recently learned for folks who have, we have a gas station here at Clipper Yacht Harbor. And I recently learned that per certain regulations, our staff should be HAZWOPER trained. Can you talk a little bit about that in terms of how that fits into the overall picture, or am I steering it way off of course here?
You know, it's kind of steered off course a little bit from what OSPR does as a response, but yes, HAZWOPER is needed by you folks, and it's basically will help you respond safely, and it's also, I believe it's OSHA required.
Yeah.
So that's all I know. If you
Yeah.
want to know more, Cindy, please.
So if you're going to deploy when we, grant fund the response equipment trailers, we always tell you, if you're gonna be out there in the oil, you need, at least 24-hour HAZWOPER. Better to have 4, but if you're going to be handling it, right, or you're going to be doing the actual cleanup, you need 40 hours. But if you're just gonna go out there and deploy that boom around a vessel, you know, in a slip, you're not gonna be touching it, just deploying that boom around. I would still say you need 24 hours. It's better to have that health and safety training. That way you know what you're doing.
So I have 8 hours, so.
So you have first responder probably awareness
Yeah.
or operational.
So if you can, everybody should start, if you've never had HAZWOPER training, you have to go through a 40-hour, 8 hours refresher.
Oh.
So you should, and if you let it lapse, if you let the 40-hour lapse, then you have to take the 40-hour, and if you don't do the 8-hour refresher every year, and if you say, oh, I got busy and I couldn't do it for 2 years, you have to take the 40-hour again.
We hired a guy, came out and taught us all, and it was
Yeah.
just an 8 hour.
She has first responder already.
Oh, okay.
You have
Yeah.
the 8
So
hour,
you have to-
it's
oh,
it's first responder awareness,
Yeah.
there's two, awareness and operational.
Operations.
So you might have had the operational one, it's what we call a fro or a fray. So that's okay, but again, if you're gonna be deploying oil spill response equipment and you're gonna be working around petroleum, at least 24-hour,
At a
if you're
minimum.
at a minimum. If you are going to be doing the cleanup, which you are marina operators, you're not really there to, you know, do the actual petroleum cleanup. You want to bring in those experts. But I would say you would need at least, you know, the 24-hour. But Michael is absolutely correct. Whether it's 24 or 40-hour HAZWOPER, if you have either one of those, you still need an 8-hour refresher every year. And it is up, if you let that lapse, Michael is absolutely right. You will have to take either that 24-hour, because it's happened to me, or that 40-hour all over again. And I would, yeah.
It happens, a lot of people just don't understand the
Yeah.
policy, so, you know, life gets in the way, you get busy, and you're gonna forget about it, or whatever, you just have to take it again.
And I think
No, it's every year, it's year, so
Yeah.
you should take an 8-hour refresher every year, we do it every.
And I think Curtis had more of a
Oh.
question of like, where can you get that? Is that kind of?
Yeah, I
Is
was,
that
I was
offering?
talking to Curtis.
Okay.
Offline,
Okay.
and he was gonna jump into one of our classes, but he got this, so,
Okay,
but yeah, I'll
Yeah.
talk to you, Curtis, offline.
Yeah.
yeah,
So, do I call it the HAZWOPER?
Let me,
Yeah, so,
hold on for a second. Let me
Yeah.
just repeat the question
Oh,
for the
okay.
people. Sorry. So the question that we got here is how everybody can get the HAZWOPER required classes, correct? So that's what we're covering. So wanted just to make sure people in virtually get the sound. Yes.
so you can, they have classes through OSHA, there's 40 hours every. But you have to have the one tailored toward what you're gonna be doing. Cause they have classes for pipeline, they have for classes, and you obviously don't need that, so. There's safety.net or safety.com that puts on 40-hour classes, so.
and there's a fee.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's a fee and it's a week, and that's the problem that a lot of people have is they can't let their 2 or 3 people go, because then they won't have anybody at the marina to handle operations, so they have to do it.
Get organized.
And, and let me just also, we do train, right? We train our people constantly in HAZWOPER. Here's the thing, we can barely keep our own people up, you know,
Yeah.
and trained, so we don't typically go out and train other folks. However, if there's a seat or two, then we, you know, might go out to other agencies and say, hey, we have 2 open seats. Also, I happen to know that US EPA does free training.
Yeah,
So I
US
would
EPA.
contact US EPA and say, hey, if I got a Bay Area group together that needs, I would say, you don't really need 40, because you're not gonna be cleaning oil. That's really, we wanna leave that to the oil spill response organizations, to the contractors. Right, like, you wanna get that, you know, response equipment out there to prevent that product from spreading all over the place. So I would say 24 is probably good for what you would need to be doing, you know, utilizing it for. And I would contact US EPA and see if they would do a Bay Area training for all the marina operators. That's what I would do. That's my recommendation. Yes, you can take it online. It's not, cheap. It's, I don't remember, $600 or something. for
Yeah,
24
roughly
hours.
six to,
Four to
it's under
six.
$1,000, but it's
Yeah.
your time for that week. Some.
That
people
is
don't have-
valuable.
So it's a private company, basically, you're saying, well, we should source out a private company. Yes, yeah, unless you get the
No,
EPA.
I would start with US EPA. Yeah.
So to re,
As a alternative, it's sort of,
I will
Yeah.
say, yes, but honestly, when you source out a private entity, they're not gonna give, a specific training specifically for petroleum, right? I would definitely go, I'm using US EPA right now.
so conclusion here, we have two questions here and two in the room. So conclusion is reach out to the US EPA first. If you have the capacity to pay hiring a company, that's another path, but probably they are going just to be very generic, not specific for your industry. So I see that, Tom, we're going to alternate. So Thomas, you had a question and then we take one from the room. Go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Oh, okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. My name is Tom Blackburn. I'm with the Flotilla 48 in the Bay Area. During Exxon Valdez, which is a long time ago, my sister-in-law went up there and helped clean up the beaches and basically get the oil off of birds, off of rocks and stuff like that. She did not tell me of any major training that she went through. How do you, or how should it be handled for the hundreds of volunteers you're going to want to help that will come up and do that? They need some sort of training to protect.
Yeah,
themselves
and we're going to
do it right.
respond to your question. We have here the coordinator for the volunteers, so she can talk about that.
So am I,
I'll mute now.
yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. And so what I would say, so I used to be the statewide volunteer coordinator for OSPR. I accepted a new position recently, so I'm now the tribal liaison. But back in my days as a volunteer coordinator, what we would do if there's a spill like down in Southern California recently in 2021, the pipeline P00547, right? So we utilize volunteers. So we have an agreement with OSHA that we can do a one-time only 4-hour condensed version of 24-hour HAZWOPER. So volunteers can come in, we give them the 4-hour training. It qualifies as a 24-hour, but only one time. So let's say those volunteers come back 3 years later and they want to volunteer again for another oil spill. They have to go through the 24 hours.
like specific toward the job.
Yeah.
For that case. We did the same thing at Refugio.
Okay, we had a
Yeah.
question here? No?
Does that answer your question, hopefully?
Yeah, you have a question.
You had mentioned, about after the notification that, hold on, let me reframe this. You said after we make notification, we need to have our cell phones because I was on a spill as well. And basically I had called in the office, made that notification, then I called me as well. So my question is, who are we obligated to respond to after we make that notification? You said you, Coast Guard, is there anybody else that we would have to stop what we're doing?
Yeah, and we have that in the toolkit as well.
Go grab this yellow, there's a bunch of them back here, grab this book, and it's got the whole procedure in here about who to call. You have to call, OES, you have to call, and it's, most of the time you call one number
Right.
and it'll let all of us know. They,
I understand that. I just mean after the fact.
oh,
So after that's already been put into action, after the national and OES.
yeah.
That's what you had said. You said to.
That's all the requirements.
Okay.
Yeah, and also, so the question in the, hopefully everybody in the room, were you able to listen to that question? Right, more or less? Yes or no? Okay, so the question was, once a spill happens and you make the normal legally required reporting, where do you need to stop? And it's basically to the National Response Center and the State Warning Center, because that triggers then a communication to a bunch of other agencies that are linked to them. And also that information is not only covered in the small OES PDF that you receive, but also in your packet that we're going to cover in a few minutes as well. All right, okay, and
You might hear from one of us throughout the response after you've made those initial, because he's gonna call or I'll call and say, hey, how's it looking? Is it dissipating? You know, what are you guys doing? Have you moved it? So,
You will be the representative.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
so
Right. And it really, the question comes from, because I was responding as well, so I was trying to, stop and do the boom and, go into action as well.
where are you from?
Discoveryville.
Oh, that's where I've seen you. Yeah, I've seen you around. Okay.
it's very common, I think that you would be out there and you need someone to communicate with us when you know what's going on.
Yeah.
If we don't know what's going on, we're saying harmony, and we will request back money for that. If it's not needed, sometimes it might be 8 ounces of hydraulic fluid. And we're not getting a response what's going on. The OEM people might say 8 ounces. But we don't really know that, we can't confirm unless we have a photo or actually physically talk, communicate with someone, it's not that, oh, yeah, we're gonna send it to meetings. And if we get there and it's nothing, then we back pay, request money for that cost coverage. So, please respond to those call outs when we call back, and I do realize that sometimes it takes time. Getting them there, but if the person in the office, go, hey, I don't know what's going on, I would, that person will call you back, great, thank you. Hopefully, it's in 15, 20 minutes. I think that's a fair enough time period to get the phone call back or a text message back.
And the other thing I just want to mention about, you're the one that had that spill, the pipe, the
Yes.
gas pipe, and they had a couple of geese, male and female, that had been boiled, and don't touch them. They still, not him, but some people, volunteers, they're trying to help. But those two geese, we have a team, OWCN, that handles oiled wildlife. And that will take care of that. And, those two geese wound up dying. It could have been from a number of things, but let the professionals handle any oiled wildlife that you guys come in contact with. He'll know how to get a hold of them. I know how to, and I was on that spill, but, I just wanted to bring that up just because it popped into my head when that happened, but, let us know if you have any oiled wildlife or see them. You're definitely gonna let us know so that we can get the other channel moving into that direction to get the wildlife taken care of.
You can also call them directly.
Yeah.
so also, just to recap what was mentioned here, we talk about some oiled birds, and that information is not only, is also included in your packet, as I'll be mentioning to you in few seconds. We are running behind the agenda, so I'm going just to try to not fly through my presentation, but make sure that it's worth it, so we can fulfill what we're saying we were going to have for you guys today. So now I'm going to be focusing, oh my God, this transcript is so annoying. I will make it work. Okay, so we're going to focus now on the packet. So that's one of the handouts that you received that has this particular cover. And I'm going to review that with you. Okay, bear with me for a sec. All right, so the first 2 pages of the packet that you're receiving today explain why we have the packet, why we created the workshop, the working group, excuse me. And also it talks about some of our components of the toolkit, and also reminds you to take some of the trainings that we have already mentioned to you, not only the online incident command system that you can take to learn more about the structure and how we operate between federal, state, and local agencies, but in addition to that, other trainings, including the first responder awareness and the first responder operations. The second page of your packet talks about the list of resources to get information during an oil spill event that is happening outside of your facility. Just think about Costco Busan, just to bring back again that example. So first of all, make sure that your first line of communication, you being voting facilities, is your county Office of Emergency Service. That's why we keep telling you the importance of knowing who that person is. How are you going to identify that person? You can simply use your favorite browser and just look for that by county. If you have any issues and you don't know how to get a hold of them or don't know how to identify them, reach out to us. We can help you connecting with them. The second options is for you to check the Office of Spill Prevention and Response, which is this website. They have a tab that, thanks to our working group, we were able to create 4 marinas and yacht clubs. And also make sure, and they will be feeding that information as it is available. They're actually pretty good with that. And also follow OSPR in Twitter or X, whatever you want to call that platform. Now that everybody's connected to social media, OSPR is pretty good feeding the public with the latest and greatest information as soon as available to the public. In the following page of your packet, which are pages, hold on for a sec, 6 and 7, is where we're going to be talking about the Spills Response Equipment Grant, and I'm not going to steal that information from Cindy. Cindy's going to cover that, but for you, it's a very easy process. Believe me, I work with other grants, and applying for this grant is super easy. So these are the frequently asked questions that you will have. This is the first page and the second page. Then on page 8 of your toolkit, we mentioned to all of you the importance of you knowing what your neighboring marinas or yacht clubs or boatyards have in terms of spilled response equipment. Why is that? Because we need to know as a community, what if I run out of material? Can I just reach out to my neighboring marinas rather than thinking I can drive miles and miles to go and pick up some of the materials, right? So first of all, make sure that you reach out to your marinas. When I asked that question, not only to people joining us virtually, but here, I would say 90% of you didn't know exactly, what my neighboring marina or yacht club have. And it's very important to know that. In addition to that, make sure that you check the current list of the spill response equipment grantees in the OSPR website. And you're thinking, Vivian, who's going to memorize that URL, crazy URL? No worries. When we send you again, the handouts that you're receiving today is a hyperlink, so you will be directed there. That list, again, can also be seen, as you see at the bottom of this slide, as an Excel file, but also as a map, and it will tell you just the grantees that are currently active, right? But that doesn't mean it's the full amount of a spills response equipment that is in your county, because sometimes private marinas have their own equipment. So that's why it is important for you not only to reach out to your neighboring facilities, but also to the County Office of Emergency Services. They should know also what other marinas may have. As another resource for you, in case you need to have access to also other resources, is the oil spills response organizations. These are organizations in charge of responding to oil spills, and they have been evaluated by OSPR. So that's another great resource to have handy. In the next slide, we're showing you, which are page 9 and 10 of your toolkit, exactly what or how to do the spill notification. So in this handout, part of your packet, we are including not only the required notification, but also the recommended notification. Remember, if you are the responsible party by law, you have 30 minutes to do the notification. Most of the time, you guys are just in a space where something happened in your facility. You are not the responsible parties, one of your voters. Let's give that example. Make sure the responsible party knows that is required by law that they do the notification. Anyhow, if you do the notification, you have the phone numbers there, the National Response Center and the State Warning Center. In these workshops, sometimes we learn that you guys get intimidated by making the reporting. Please don't feel intimidated. The point is just to get some assistance. Sometimes the spill may impact, health or safety, or also the environmental or the natural resources. So it's good for responding agencies to be able to assist you. We also are included recommended notification, including the Coast Guard different sector phone numbers, also the 911. And also we are thinking about your operation. If you are the person in charge of your facility, but that day is your day off, make sure your staff knows who is the second in command active that day, and make sure those phone numbers are up to date. And you try to review this phone tree at least every 6 months. A lot of staff just comes and goes, so it's good to have this list as active as possible and up to date. Sometimes some of you are part of the public agency, so you may have to notify the city and county officials, the mayor, among others. So these are other resources for you to keep in mind handy in your resource phone tree. As we discussed here, sometimes you may have wildlife impacted. We are including at the bottom of your resource phone tree, not only the link, but also the phone number. And other ideas for you to have handy in an area where you can see as part of your resource phone tree are salvaging companies, divers, vessel assist, and of course, boatyards. Sometimes you need assistance from the boatyards, okay? The next slide, we talk a little bit about this. Before you call the National Response Center, it is better if you have this list of potential questions they are going to be asking you. So when you are calling for reporting, you are more efficient trying to collect as much information as possible. So we put together this information that is part of their reporting system, and make sure, as we discussed already, to give your cell phone, because if you are walking around the marina, they may want to contact you and you have to be reachable. We talk about those examples a little bit. This is just for you to refresh your memory. The next slide, or part of your packet, which we're talking for our people joining us virtually and also here, pages 13 and 14. These are the third-party claim processes that may take place not only for state and local agencies, meaning public agencies, but also for private entities. Once the incident command system gets activated and they clear all the protocol, some funding may get activated for the recovery of your response cost. So make sure that you are aware of that, depending either if you're a private or a public marina. This happens in a couple of the spills in the past, so it's good for you to know that these resources do exist. We are including the phone numbers for private and public marinas. And in the following page of your packet, page 15, we are also including a sample of some of the spill cost recovery different categories. So you kind of understand what they are looking for, and also to make sure that you keep track of receipts, timesheets, among others. The next component of your packet, we are on page 16, is to remind you about the importance of having spill response plans in place, or any emergency plan in place for the operation of your facility. But also, let's focus here in this case in the spill plan specifically. Even if your facility doesn't have to follow the regulations of the spill control and countermeasure plan, which I'll mention to you in a couple of seconds, it is important that all the facilities, and this is very important also for my friends with the yacht clubs, that you have a spill contingency plan in place. Why is that? You're dealing with motorized vessels that come and go. Sometimes people are like, oh, we're a social club, so we don't need to care about that. Yes, you do need to care about that, because a spill can happen right there. What are those facilities that need to follow the SPCC, the Spill Prevention and Control and Countermeasure Plan? At the footnote of your handout, you will see the definition. Mainly those facilities that have above ground aggregated capacity of over 1,320 gallons, or completely underground capacity of over 42,000 gallons. If you're a fuel dock, you have already your spill contingency plan filed with your county on an annual basis. But again, regardless, if you have or not a dock, make sure that you have a spill contingency plan. Based on the information we got from the industry when we had our working group, and I forgot to mention that we're excited to have one of our mentors as part of the working group here, Chris Lauritsen. Thank you, Chris, for coming. We divided the template for you into on-water incidents and on-land incidents. This is the information you have to have in your plan. What happened if you have a spill on the water? For example, assess the magnitude of the spill, identify the material that has been spilled. If it's gasoline, remember it's a hazardous situation, pretty volatile. Make sure that you evacuate the area, you clear the area, shut off the power, and make all the pertinent phone calls. If it's not gasoline, pretty much similar situation, but here you can identify the source, stop the source if able, make sure you don't use detergents. We are going to go to that later on. Contain the spill. If possible, make sure that you have your absorbents, your material ready, your protective equipment. That's why we talk about the first responder, the hazardous operation and first responder trainings that are so important to have on an annual basis or up to date. And then when the incident is secure, make sure that you do the specific phone calls. We added some information here in terms of additional information on what to do in case a bilge is contaminated and online incidents. We recommend you to review the plan once a year, especially with your staff, so everybody is aware of what the steps are involved in these procedures. Again, another goal of this workshop is to make sure that you guys are aware that that is important for you to have not only spill response plans, but emergency plans for different situations. With this weather, or storms, or fires, or health emergency, or also earthquake, but keep it simple. When we had our workshop in the past, or our working group, I remember some of the marina or harbor master saying our emergency plans were this thick. And when we needed to go over in an emergency, you're not going to read 100 pages. You have to have something that is to the point, couple of pages, and move on because you need to respond. So have it in an area that is visible to everybody, very simple, but to the point. Make sure that some of the components of those emergency plans are the ones we're including there, like a site plan. Do you know the piping, the valves, the hydrants, the storm drains, all the infrastructure, a perfect map of your facility? Also develop a spill response inventory list. Make sure you know in your facility where all the spill material is found. If you need a key, does the key work? That happens once, that I heard a marine operator saying we needed to use the spill. We went and then the key got broken. We couldn't access the lock. It was like a real mess. So make sure that every certain time you make sure that you open the room, that everything is in place, or you know the code. Also make an inventory list of what items you have, quantities, vendors, also what vendors can come and help you to properly dispose of that hazardous waste. And it is ideal to have at least 2 times the length of the largest vessel of boom to contain the spill, and even more. That's why it's important also to make sure that you know who is your neighboring facility and what they have in case you need to reach out to them. But again, it's important that you have extra materials always. Make sure you know the actions. Who is in charge of doing what and what action each personnel involved in those emergency plans need to have. And also phone numbers of all of your staff. What if the person who needed to do step 1 is not there that day? Okay, who's taking over? And if that person is involved, if they know what to do. In your handouts that people virtually receive as a PDF, and here we have a recommended resources for oil spill cleanup and cleanup spill kits for boating facilities that you can check. And again, it's just a recommendation. Remember that it is illegal to use detergents or soaps to mask any spill on the water to think that you're treating it. So we are refreshing your memory here with that information. I know you all know that, but sometimes boaters are the ones that don't know. So it's good to have that extra education with them. And this packet is not only found in the handouts that we send you, but also as part of the OSPR website. And this is where I tell you that we were able to create the Marinas and Yacht Club specific tab after all the work that we have done with the facilities and the workshops. So right there, you can find all of our information and the packet as well. And just to wrap up my part of the presentation and some of the conclusions that our team has shown to you before we go into the break, remember that boating facilities are very important, but in terms of the oil spill structure, you are considered an economic sensitive site. So you are a third priority compared to the other two, which are the protection of human health and the natural resources. Not that we don't care about you, of course. It's just because protection of human health and the natural resources may have long-term impacts, and the recovery could be long-term if there's any. So that's why for the state and federal, those are the two priorities. Remember, prevention is the cheapest way to control pollution. Remember, please, to go back to your facility and make sure that you know who your county representative is. Get to know them. Make sure you are included in the county spill response plan and contingency plan as well, that you do exist. Also, reach out to your neighboring marinas or yacht club so you know what they have and you offer to them what you have. Share the information with your staff and review the packet. Make sure you review every 6 months to a year all the plans. And we also want to invite you to participate in your area contingency plan meetings. These are great meetings where state, federal, county, or cities get together with the industry. So this is a great opportunity for you to exchange information, to get to know other people, and to participate in those meetings. I'm listing here in the slide the different key people depending on where you are. Don't worry. In the email that you're going to receive, we're going to send you this contact information, not only for Northern California and the Central Coast, as well as the Bay Area and Delta, but also we have people in Southern California joining us today. We will send you all this information in one email so you will have it and you can reach out to them too. If you don't want to participate in those meetings, it's okay, but make sure that you're part of the distribution list so you know and you can attend whenever you can. OSPR also has drill calendars. I'll send you this information as well. It's fun to learn how the structure works. So you can see how complicated the structure is once a spill happens. So this is a good educational opportunity if you want us to participate as observers. All right, so let me stop there for a sec. And before we go to a break, I think we can take some questions unless Cindy has been taking care of them right now. And we can also take questions from the room before we go into a break. Any questions from people in the room? No, everybody?
Vivian, hi, it's Marisa. Sorry, it takes a moment to scroll through everything, get from the chat to the this, to the that, to the other thing, to the mute unmute. Fantastic information, fantastic speakers. But if you guys do this AI recording where you don't have the opportunity to opt out and it's so frustrating, I probably won't do another webinar. I have retained so little of this because I've spent so much time trying to get things to function that aren't functioning, that normally function fine during a Zoom. But thank you. Wonderful. That's my feedback. I'm not going to put it all in there, but thank you. It's great information.
No, don't worry. That's good to know. I want just to know if the other people joining virtually, are you having the same issues or you are doing okay? Oh, I see. I think that everybody's Yeah, Linda is showing, okay, no problem. Well, Marisa, it seems that is your system at this point because most of the people are saying that they are doing well. I'm sorry about you having technical issues. It seems that everybody's is doing okay at this point. I'm sorry about your internet. Sometimes that happens, right? That the system doesn't work. Before we go on the break, I want to make sure that I take questions from here, people here in the room. Yes.
Most of the time, I've had to call several times to report stuff, but we're on the river, so it's coming from upriver. I'll try and call the marinas or restaurants above us. There's a restaurant that has boats docked, so sometimes could be a boat up there. Is that a good step to call them first and let them know we're seeing something coming down, or would you say just call OES right away and then let them know upriver that we called? That's that preference.
So
Absolutely.
we're repeating the question for people virtually. So we had a question that here we have participants from a marina that is on the river, and sometimes they see something coming down in front of them and it keeps moving. And so what they're doing is they're calling to report other marinas down the stream or the river.
Figure out if they can see it upriver.
Exactly, just to see if they can see the either like people upstream or downstream. And here we're getting the recommendation, even if you're not the responsible party, always make sure that you do the reporting. And it's because probably somebody doesn't want to do the reporting, but it's just to make sure that the authorities know if they have to respond or not, if they have received other notification. And as a member of the community, it's always good to report.
One of the misconceptions is people are afraid to make the report because they think they're gonna get charged and they're gonna start having paying money, and that's why some people, I've heard that some people don't wanna make the, oh, then I'm gonna get a bill. But you're not gonna get a bill, we just need to know that there's something, and sure, you can call them if you know the
I'm the one that
number.
reports most.
Where you guys located?
We're a Riverbank Marina on Sacramento Reserve.
Oh, okay.
Marinas and the facilities above us, they're
Yeah,
usually stuff.
Yeah.
That's big. I'm like, well, just letting you know.
yeah, so report, say, hey, we're at this location, but it's coming past us, because that's what, 5 or 6 knot current
Yeah.
and an outgoing tide, so. But yeah, definitely make the report.
You're the local expert, so
Yeah.
calling the,
Yep.
this is super helpful for us.
That's right.
Because it
Then
helps
when you
us
guys
track.
call back and ask if I have any more
Yeah,
information on it,
absolutely.
by that point, hopefully someone can say like, well, I don't see it this far up.
Yeah, or you're gonna get a call from one of us, and, hey, by that time, you're gonna yell, I already called X, Y, Z, they didn't see it, so that means, for, whatever, that's.
So for people virtually, I think that you heard the response is, please make sure that anytime that you see a spill, just report it. They have their own system to make sure that they can check with other facilities. And Ambi here does a fantastic job reporting all of this, so that's good to do. So we're going to take a 10-minute break right now. I'm going to set up our timer here. We are again behind schedule, but we're going to make it work. Let's see if we can
You guys have fuel stop?
hold on for a sec. Okay, so right now is 11:19. Please come back at 11:29. We have a lot to cover, but it's good to have a stretch. So we'll be back. We have almost 3.5 more minutes to go, so please start coming back to your computers, please. Okay, 1 more minute, please start coming back to your spots. We want to start right on time. We're a little bit behind schedule, but we'll make it work.
If I took 2 drops of gasoline
Oh, yeah.
and put it in
And
the
it-
water and it just spreads out,
Yeah.
it looks like we're on, but it's not.
It's, yeah, you still record it.
If you have issues with
Any amount, but I mean, that usually fits.
All right, so we are back. Hopefully you had a great break. One thing that I forgot to mention, and people in the room, please, we're starting again. One thing that I forgot to mention for people joining us virtually, if you are with somebody else, and you register online, please include the name of that other person in the chat in case I didn't get. So I have a couple of people from the same facility that I don't see here. So I have seen one of you, but not the other. So make sure that you let us know who else is registered attending the workshop so we can send you, of course, the follow-up email. All right, so let's please start again. People in the room, please. Okay, we're starting again, please. So we're going to move into the agenda about the case studies. And we have here Michael Caligari, and we're going to
Go ahead, while you're there, you can just start the video.
Okay, so hold on for a sec. We're going. Bear with me. Okay. No, we're going to start. Okay, and
There you go.
Contractors are still here working in the dark to recover this boat that sank and to clean up that fuel. We're told that the boat holds 250 gallons of fuel and that it's unlikely all of that spilled into the marina. Still, a lot of it did, and it spread far. This video shows the moment a large boat caught fire last night in Alameda.
At about 10 p.m., we had a report of a boat fire here at the marina. Alameda Fire Department responded.
No one was hurt and the cause is unknown, but the boat did sink. It also caused diesel fuel to spill and spread throughout the marina. Liz Williams lives in a houseboat nearby.
This morning I walked out my door at about 10 in the morning and was just inundated with a fuel smell. When I looked at the water, there was a rainbow sheen all over it. I could see that fuel was just really covering most of the water.
Video from Sky 7 shows the fuel spreading from Alameda all the way to the Oakland estuary.
It is an active incident with the Coast Guard, and they're doing their best to mitigate any of the runoff, any of the flotation of petroleum products or hazardous fluids that may be on the water surface.
An inspector with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife describes the spill as minor to moderate.
What you can see on the water is kind of deceptive. A little bit of oil in water goes a long way, and it spreads out very quickly.
He said it's hard to collect this amount of fuel and that the most effective cleanup is natural evaporation. Williams feels more can and should be done.
We're in this climate change reality. It goes somewhere. It drops down into the water, it evaporates into the air. It goes somewhere. It's not like becomes a non-event. And that's what I'm finding difficult about the explanations.
And we are told that the boat owners are cooperating and are paying for the cost of this cleanup as is required of them. The Department of Fish and Wildlife says that so far they have seen no impact on wildlife.
All right, so, how many of you guys have had spills like, because a little bit goes, one drop of gas will look like 100 gallons, so you guys have all, where are you out of? Oh, okay, so you're familiar with that marina? Yeah, are you a harbor master? Oh, okay. Okay. And most of you guys have. Yeah, I mean, one drop in it, one drop hits the water, you guys need to make a notification. Some people go, oh, no, I don't need, you need to make the notification, because if we find out, you're gonna have, Warden Pete knocking on your door, so. A lot of people say, oh, one drop doesn't matter, it does matter, so make the notification. What could and should have been done, so a lot of times if it's gasoline, you don't wanna, you guys all have hard boom or sausage boom? What do you get? Sausage? And yeah, both, yeah, so you don't, with gasoline, you don't wanna confine it because of the volatility, so, and natural evaporation. Bob, the guy, the OSPS, he just retired. Bob and I, we were stationed together in the Coast Guard, and then we started working together. He was my partner here, so he just retired last month, last month, Cindy? Yeah, so, but he was the responder for that one. You guys are all gonna be the first responders, so you're gonna, before we get there, you guys are gonna start putting the hard boom out, sausage boom, and they're getting some people helping out and getting it done. Look what's going on here.
Let me just help you here.
Oh, there we go. Okay. You guys, most of you guys are in marinas, these 95 gallon overpack. have you guys seen these? You guys can pick these up. And I think I told you when I came to visit you at your small craft refueling dock, you can put two of the, put them on the ends of the pier or near the fuel pumps. They're called 95-gallon overpacks, and you can put sausage boom in them. You can put 3 or 4 of these, I think these are 20 feet or 30 feet coiled up. They'll fit perfect with some pads in there. So, that's what they're called. So, and then if you have a Grant trailer in the area, Cindy will cover that after me. Yeah, any of you guys have Grant trailers in your areas? And you have one?
We just attempt to, but my maintenance.
Well, we're not gonna give it to a private
Yeah,
marina.
that's why.
Yeah, it has to be, yeah, so. And you have one, right? Yeah, so, but the fire, most time she'll grant it to Indian tribe if you're near water or a fire department. So she'll cover all that. And then that's a 95-gallon overpack is what it's called. And it's yellow, so it sticks out, and that's why, it's good to have that. And then the Osros, like Pete was covering earlier. Oh, yeah, the Osros, and you gotta watch the applied response technologies. In page 18 and 19 of your packet, you have to get permission from the area response team, the RRT, to when you do it, if you're gonna use any kind of detergents, dispersants, in situ burning. I was at Deepwater Horizon, and we were doing in situ burning there in Gulf of Mexico. We're corralling it with a fire boom, and then we'd light it on fire and get rid of it, but you're not gonna do that in California. Not gonna happen. But you have to get pre-approval for any of these, if you're gonna use any of these types. And it has to be in your response plan also that you're using.
Also in the handouts that we provided to you, again, these are
Yeah,
list of recommended
Yep,
resources.
yeah, that's in there. I think that's page 18 and 19.
And yeah, for the people virtually, one of the handouts talks about the recommended resources for oil spill cleanup. That's a handout for you to use as a reference.
Oh, can I see that?
Yes, sir. It's not included in the packet. It's one of the additional handouts you received.
Oh, okay, yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, this, and then, a hard boom's expensive, so a lot of people are just gonna use a sausage boom. It's a little cheaper. And Pete covered some of the contingency plan for each. You guys should have a plan in place to get, if you do have a spill, on what you're gonna do to clean it up. Whoops, this thing is sensitive.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's good this way. With this one.
Oh.
No worries.
So you wanna 4 steps? How many of you guys have had a vessel sink in your marina? You guys, almost everybody. Okay, yeah. So it's, weather, rain, lightning, thunder, whatever, it's gonna sink a boat. You wanna have a plan in place, communicate, get the word out there, grab that yellow book, make your notifications. And then grab some sausage boom, contain it. Control it if you can, safely. So safety is key. You don't want anybody getting hurt. Make sure everybody, within 6 feet of the water, whatever your policy is, wear a life jacket, PFD. A lot of times, these pads, they start blowing. If the wind is blowing, you're gonna find them everywhere throughout the marina, so try to keep it contained within the sausage boom. And then cleanup. So the cleanup, you're gonna use oil spill response Osro and identify the risk, find out what's going on, protect yourself. You guys, most of the time, if you're 40-hour, you're gonna know that you have to have nitrile gloves, Tyvek suits, so you don't get sick or get contaminated. Then make notifications. So here they have hard boom and then they lined it with the sausage boom. So safety for everybody on the response is, I can't say that enough. You have to, everybody has to be safe. And then protect the unimpacted areas. So outside of here, you want to keep any of that from getting out. Stop the release. You guys probably wouldn't plug the vents of the fuel tank. The Osro will do that, or the salvage company, the diver, Parker Diving, you know, whatever, Diving Global, whoever you're going to use, will do all that when they lift the vessel, and then they're going to sting the tanks to find out how much fuel needs to be removed, and then start lifting it. So yeah, dewatering, that's what they were. That's what they're doing here. They're taking the water off, and then once they get it floated, they're gonna start assessing what's going on with how many holds it has, how much, you know, one of the vessels had just recently had, you know, 10,000 pounds of crab in it. So it ran aground, and how to repair it, if it can be repaired. And then decon. Decon is huge if you're on one of these responses, because you don't want to take this stuff home with you. You don't want to walk into your house with your boots that have oil on them. So, and then disposal. So I was on a spill. We had all this sausage boom, and I'm taking my boots off in my truck because I have 2 pairs of boots. And I see this guy with a garbage bag with diesel, red dye diesel, putting it in his trunk. And I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I'm taking this home. It's going in my household." No, you have to dispose. This is hazmat. This is waste. You can't take it home and put it in your garbage. It has to be disposed of properly. So you just can't take it. You have to have a manifest. It has to go to a approved disposal facility. So nobody take it home. Don't put it in with your garbage. And then the considerations are what type. This was in a Delta. Bob and I responded to that one. This was a boat fire. I think you and I responded to that. So, you know, the type of vessel it is, this was actually 6 feet below the water. That it was full of water. So, and then this was a sailboat at Bethel Island. I walked up there to this one, and it was gasoline. You can see part of the sheen on this. And there's a guy in a boat tending the boom, and he had a cigarette in his mouth. So, you know, you just have to watch. You got to watch. I told him to put it out. So yeah, it just, you have to watch everybody, and just remember one thing on site safety. Everybody can stop the job. If you have an issue, stop the job, everybody gets together and we talk about it and say, okay, how do we fix this issue? Everybody has stop work authority. It doesn't matter who you are. Stop the job, make sure everybody's safe, and then carry on. Once again, disposal, quantification is what I do. The state has a quantification method that we use. If you have, oiled pads or the sausage boom that's oiled, we have what's called stipulation quantification. And the RP, us, the warden, we all get together. We say, okay, this sausage boom weighs this much. Okay, this is 10 gallons. And we stipulate what kind of, how much is in there. And then we do each bag that way. So there's different, and we work with the contractor in order to get rid of all that. That's it. Oh, I thought there was more. I'm not done. Any questions?
Yeah, any questions? So let's just start this time, people in the room. Questions about the case scenario. So he talked about great case scenario, something that is similar to what you have experienced. Any questions about that? Or even people from the virtual room, if you can think about your questions? Questions here? No? No questions? Okay.
That was easy.
That was easy. People in joining us virtually. Feel free to unmute yourself or include in the chat your question. Can you hear us okay still? Okay, great. Everybody's, yeah. No questions? Okay, Joe is okay. Vida, how are we doing? Excellent. Okay, Dustin up in Lake Tahoe, good. Great. And Eric, everybody okay? Wow, okay. Seems that was very clear. All right, so now we are moving into the last presentation. So let me just share the screen here.
It's not, sorry, Vivian. So while Vivian's queuing up my presentation, I'm just going to give you a little background about the Response Equipment Grant Program. I know there were a few people in the room that have the trailers, correct? Okay. And I know I was working with your maintenance person, forgive me, I can't remember his name. Brent, but we tried to reach out to a couple local agencies to see if they would partner, and we just didn't get very far. So, but that doesn't mean we can't keep trying. So.
That seems to be a problem. Why is it that like a private entity such as them are trying to get something and we're trying to get, you know, our local city, whatever, and they just, oh, we don't have the time, we don't care. It's like, that's a problem. Why can't we as private entities get this stuff? Because there's more of us than there are of them.
That is true.
A lot of them.
So let me answer that question. Unfortunately, I have to work on like regulations, right? I have to go to my government code and say, how can I give response equipment trailers away? So we have regulations that I'm working with that says, okay, you can give money, you can give a grant to a local entity. But I will tell you, we have worked with private marinas and we've teamed up with local agencies to partner. So it just, you have to be diligent. You have to find the right local agency that will work with you. I would say local OESs are usually pretty good. I think we reached out to the local sheriff's office.
Yeah, sheriff or fire department.
Yeah, fire departments are
Sheriff. Keep their boat out of marina.
so that's who you need to work with. And I almost think Brett was reaching out to the sheriff and it was just kind of like, I was waiting. I think they were gonna call me so we could talk about that and how it could work. Yeah, so maybe like we could pull maybe our local warden and maybe just have a quick chat with that local sheriff. They house their boat at your marina. What a great partnership. And just, the collaboration, the partnership is the words you want to use. And so hopefully, maybe the sheriff, will come around and say, okay, let me take this to my folks, my management folks and see if we can't, broker something. So, and again, we have about 85 of these trailers throughout the state of California. And so I would say probably about 10 of them are staged at a private marina. But the local entity applied for the grant and they have to sign on, basically all the grant agreement, the dotted line, basically. So
Can
if
you
they're
repeat
your
the question?
landlord,
They're in their part of the marina, so, okay, I get that. But
Yeah.
we're offering, hey, we'll give you some space, because if you have that part of the marina, that's inside the marina. And another basin. But we're over here in this little corner where all this stuff gets blown into. We're gonna get just as bad, if not worse, than where the spill's coming.
so you need to collaborate with the city, with your, your landlord, basically. I know we've had this conversation. So I think just collaborate with them, sit down and say, okay, what response equipment do you have? We know this isn't gonna be enough. You guys know that we're gonna come over and help you when you have a spill, right? You guys have boats, you have people. So I would say, maybe through that and invite us, invite, our fielder, Michael and myself, and we can come and chat about the program and how successful it's been. And it's a win-win for everyone, for the private marina, for, the local entity.
So you're
Yeah.
on TI?
I'm in TI, but I'm also the dock master at St. Francis.
Oh,
So St. Francis is an entity, we're VCs from the Parks Department, our docks. We are all like that.
and the fire department?
All their stuff is in there, it's all, they have a boat that's staged in their part of the marina.
Yeah, we talk about that kind of space, yeah. Huh.
But fire, Treasure Island is that's my bigger problem. 'Cause I had equipment, but we got all the destroyed in Warren last year. And we acquired that from the Navy. As they were pulling out, I went over to this table. Where do you have all this? Oh, we have boxes of this stuff. I said, give me one. I mean, they literally gave me everything. But it got destroyed. And so nobody in that area wants to give us hey, we can put this on our docks. They don't want to help. And it's like, well, we don't have it. Wow.
So let me repeat the question. So private marinas, how can they get the response equipment grant trailer? And again, it is collaborating, coordinating with the local entity to apply for the grant and then do a collaboration. So one of the fire departments actually up in South Lake Tahoe, there was a private entity, private marina that wanted the trailer. Unfortunately, they couldn't apply for it. So they went to the local fire station and said, would you apply? They applied, they signed the grant agreement. The trailer is stored at the private marina. So it does work. You just have to, I would say, schedule a meeting, get them to come to your marina or you go to them and bring Osper along with you. And then we can talk about how successful the program's been and how you can make this work. Sometimes liability comes into when we have our meetings. So I would say the local entity can do like a little MOU, some type of agreement every year, charge $1 to the private marina and have that agreement in place. The folks up in South Lake Tahoe, they didn't do any kind of agreement. They're just like, we're going to leave the trailer right there. And if we need it, we'll get it. We'll let you know. And if the marina needs it, they use it. So it's just, they kind of have the handshake agreement. So, but I would say just invite us to come. Let's schedule a meeting and we can see if we can't kind of help broker that agreement between the city and the private marina. So.
I gotta come up and do an inspection. I didn't know you had fuel, so I get it.
Yeah. No. So I'm just going to give you just a little background before I jump into the presentation. So why we started this program, because back in 2007, what happened here in the Bay Area, the vessel that hit the bridge, Costco Busan. So a lot of the local marinas in the Bay Area, they didn't have equipment. And so they were contacting our liaison officer or unified command or their local OES person and saying, we don't have any equipment. Why aren't you guys booming off our marina? And we were like, well, we protect environmentally sensitive sites first because those sites take a really long time to recover. Marinas are classified as an economic site. We can rebuild a marina. We can decon a marina, right? So yes, it's money, but our priority is always protecting those environmentally sensitive sites first. So what happened was the Unified Command said, okay, we'll do boom drops. So this is what they did during Costco Busan. They said, okay, we're gonna drop, 4,000 feet of boom at such and such location. You marina operators come over and get it, deploy your boom to protect your marina. So that's what happened in Costco Busan. And so after that incident, we were like, okay, we need to create some kind of grant program to help out our local marinas. And so fortunately, the state of Washington, they're very much like us, right? They have a specific program that can prevent, prepare for, and respond to oil spills in their state. And so I reached out to Department of Ecology up in the state of Washington, and they just started the program up there. And I said, okay, what went well? What do you wish you could change? And so I basically took their program, made it a little more California flair, and we implemented our program back in 2008, 2009. So that's how and why our program was started, because we had a spill. I'm trying not to be reactive anymore. I'm trying to think ahead and have vision, right? So I'll talk a little bit how that program has morphed to where it is today. Let's see. Oh, okay. So I think when you apply for a grant, it is a one-page application. We make it simple. Our goal is not to have you fill out a grant that's like 20 pages. I mean, who has heard of a grant with a one-page application? That's incredible. So we wanted to make it super easy. So once you fill out the grant, I'll contact you and I'll say, hey, we're going to schedule a site visit. And we're going to come out and kind of look at the area that you want to protect. And if you are awarded a grant, and I'll just say we've never actually denied anyone, right, Michael? I have put somebody off because they're rebuilding their marina, or, they're just not set up yet. And then I'll, reach back out to them in a year or two, and then they'll reapply and usually get the grant at that time. So we call a site visit once that application is completed. I come out with one of our oil spill prevention specialists, sometimes a wildlife officer, but typically an OSPS. And we'll do, we'll kind of get a lay of the land. Do you have water nearby? Is there a petroleum threat, either through pipeline, through rail, through, a vessel? Do you have a marina, that kind of thing? So we'll do that evaluation. And then at the end of the day, I usually sit down with the OSPS and I'm like, okay, what do you think? Should we award them a trailer? And then if the answer is yes, like I said, typically the answer is yes, then we'll start looking at what type of equipment makes sense for the area that you want to protect. Not everybody needs 1,000 feet of containment boom. Not everybody needs, boom. If you're inland and you're dealing with streams and narrow rivers, you probably need a water gate, which is an underflow dam. So it just depends on what you want to protect, what environment that you want to protect. So we'll kind of decide what your equipment needs to look like. Okay, sorry. It's always weird using somebody else's computer when I like this. Okay, so I think I covered this, but I'll cover it a little bit more. So counties and cities, port districts can apply. We like giving these to fire departments because they're 24/7 and they go out and train with their equipment every 3 months. And so fire departments have probably about, 50 of our trailers throughout the state. And the rest, probably marinas, to be honest. We also give these trailers to California Native Americans. We have about 10 that we've issued, one more that we'll be issuing soon here. Any public entity, like I said, local OES, San Mateo County OES they have 2 trailers, but they actually have them staged at private marinas. So again, OES might be an option, local OES might be an option to reach out for, if they would apply for on your behalf. There's gonna be okay, hold on. I mentioned what criteria. So when we come out and do a site visit usually takes about 1 to 2 hours. So you have to be near, obviously, waters of the state, any type of waterway. It's really there to protect your economic sites. We do have agreements with East Bay Regional Park District. They have 2 of the trailers. And the agreement is they are the land manager in a lot of the sensitive areas along the shoreline. So they do know how to protect those environmental sites and they use our strategies, so to protect those sites. But everybody else, it's really to protect what is important to you, and that is your economic site. These are just some of the criteria. Do you have the ability to deploy? Do you have boats? Do you have people? We always recommend that you have a level of HAZWOPER, at least first awareness operational, which is an 8-hour course. We do not recommend unless you have a higher HAZWOPER to do actual cleanup. You're just the Band-Aid. You get the Band-Aid out there, you deploy that boom, and you make sure somebody back is making those notifications to NRC and to the State Warning Center. So it gets our folks rolling, right? Or at least a phone call like, hey, what's going on out there? What does it look like? Can you send a photo? What type of product? Do you have an idea how much? So these are questions that our wildlife officer will typically ask. But again, we're not looking at you to be an oil spill response contractor. You're the Band-Aid. Get the equipment out there, prevent it from spreading, and call the folks that, you know, do this for a living. All right, so what does the equipment entail? Again, this fluctuates, but this is just the standard, right? So 1,000 feet of boom, cargo trailer. We have a couple different sizes that we can work with depending on how much storage you have. We did a smaller trailer just because when OSPR went statewide in 2014, a lot of those inland areas, we needed a smaller trailer. So that's kind of why we now offer a couple different size trailers. Absorbent materials, anchors, buoys, we provide pretty much everything except the people and the boats to deploy it. Santa Barbara has a trailer of ours. They use jet skis to deploy their boom out there. Of course, Santa Barbara, right? No one here is from Santa Barbara. I love Santa Barbara. And then we have navigational lights that you clamp onto the boom. So if you're using it in the evening, we do not really, because you're not, experts in this field, we really don't want you to be out there doing any kind of night deployment. But we do provide those lights. We have a toolkit, PPE, personal protective equipment. We have enough equipment for 4 people. Sometimes we include a generator, especially if a marina does not have lights. So we'll provide a generator with portable lights. That's really cool. We've added a water gate. So water gate is an underflow dam. So that's mostly for our inland areas. But sometimes we have a coastal grantee that might have some, rivers and streams. So we throw a water gate in there as well. Trying to think anything else?
Cindy will tailor the trailer for your specific needs.
Yeah.
It'll be a 12.
You and I will.
12-inch, a 12-inch hard boom or 18-inch hard boom, depending on how deep the water is in your area and the size of the boom.
Yeah. So on the standard list, we offer 3 sizes of containment boom. It's usually 10-inch boom and then 12-inch boom. Anything more than that, it's just too much to handle, to be honest. A lot of people are like, where's the ocean boom? It's 18, 22 inches. Like, you're a novice, make it simple. The smaller the boom, the better. It's easier to handle. And then we do smaller sections, either a 50-foot section or a 100-foot section. So it's just much easier to manipulate. Part of the grant, which this is something, when I talked to the State of Washington Department of Ecology, they did not have the hands-on training. So what they did is they delivered the training or the trailer and they're like, okay, good luck, have fun. So we added the 8-hour hands-on training. So it's not just the equipment, but when the trailer is delivered to you, then we conduct an 8-hour training, which is really cool. So there's a classroom portion about 2 or 3 hours. The rest of the afternoon is spent with you deploying your own equipment and kind of, learning different strategies of deploying boom. So it's really a great training. And then what else can I say about that? What I recommend if you apply and you're awarded, you want one vendor, only one vendor. You don't want to piece it out. You want someone who can do, retrofit the cargo trailer, purchase all the equipment that goes inside there, delivery and the training component. One person only. I did have a grantee think they could get it cheaper and they pieced it out. Well, all those pieces arrived at their fire department and then they had to retrofit the cargo trailer and put everything in there. And I'm just sitting there going, tried to warn you. But anyway, that's more information than, you know, you probably need for this. But the other thing we started doing about right pre-COVID, I think, we started going back around to a lot of our grantees and offering free boom training. Because we know people come and go. Those folks that maybe initially received the training 5 years ago, those people are long gone. And so now we offer anytime you want, we offer free boom training. So those who have a trailer, if you're interested, let me know or reach out to me. We can go ahead and get that scheduled. Michael is one of our wonderful trainers. He has trained many, many grantees on refresher boom training. So it's a good, it's a good resource that we provide to our grantees. The other thing, every fiscal year, I kind of look at, do I have any gold dust money left over? And I'll reach back out to the grantees and I'll say, hey, I have a little bit of money. Are you low on sorbent material? Do you need to replace some containment boom? Or do you need to replace a trailer? San Rafael Fire, I just replaced a trailer for them because they were one of the first grantees, and so their trailer was in pretty bad shape. So the only thing I cannot do, I can replace a trailer, which is crazy, but I can't replace tires. So weird.
You guys should, if you get a trailer, or if you guys have a trailer,
Tire covers.
just get a preventive maintenance list and just do a check every month. Kick the tires, make sure, I go and do spot checks on each of the grant trailers. If I'm in the area, I'll go by Suisun City and there's a guy camping out next to it, using it as a windbreak, and I call Cindy and they, so they moved it and now it's at the Suisun City Police Department. So, but just, you guys have to have a PMS schedule and make sure nothing's missing out of it. Somebody might have needed some of the sausage boom for, gasoline spill or something that big something spilled in the marina, so, and she'll replace it yearly.
If I have a little bit of that gold dust money, I can't do it all the time. So you own the trailer, we don't own it. We're the pass-through, right? So we grant you the money, you go out and you do your own procurement process, whatever that is. A lot of the cities now are having to do requests for quotes. So they have to do that, or they have to get, typically 3 bids. Whatever that procurement process is, we're just the pass-through. So once that purchase order comes through and I get that purchase order showing me that you purchased the equipment, I usually ask you for an invoice so I can kind of get that process going. The state is slow. So that's why I want the invoice prior to you getting the trailer, but that purchase order shows me that you ordered it. And I usually call the vendor and say, hey, is this a go? And they're like, yes, everything is signed. We're ordering everything. It's about 4 weeks out. So try not to have you have to pay for it and then wait for our money to come in. Just a little thing there. So as the owner of the trailer, you're not responsible for deploying it. It's there for you to use. It's your equipment. But what we do ask in the agreement is if you're not using it and we need to utilize it for a spill somewhere else, let's say, that we would have the opportunity to use it. So that is the stipulation we have in the grant agreement. Most grantees are fine with that. So either our warden will come over and get it, or we may ask, like a lot of times the fire departments are already responding, so they'll just bring the trailer over. And then we'll have either the marina staff or the fire staff to go ahead and deploy it. And then our field response team, one of the members would probably call the contractor to come and, finish all that up. So decon and do all of that. The other thing is, I think that was all. I'll show you a couple incidents that we had, which worked really well. There was a fireboat or a boat that caught fire, at Steamboat Slough. And this worked amazing. Ryan Hansen was the wildlife officer on this one. And unfortunately, it was a family houseboat. They all were okay. But what worked really well is the River Delta had a trailer. And so they brought it down, they deployed the equipment. And then the wildlife officer called the contractor, an oil spill response organization, and they came, did all the cleanup, deconned the boom. Some of the boom was destroyed because it caught fire. It is not fire boom. So we ended up replacing all of that, but we worked through the spiller or the RP. We worked through their insurance. So everything was put back to whole in that trailer, which we would have done anyway because we borrowed it, right? So anytime we borrow the trailer, we're gonna make sure everything is decon, put back the way it was, the way we got it. So just to let you know that. But that was a really good incident. Then we had another fire on a boat at Garden Highway, and that incident went really well too. We had the City of Sacramento Public Works, excuse me, had a trailer, so we borrowed that trailer and we utilized that boom here. Yeah, this one was a couple years ago. Yeah. Yeah, so.
Hear about the blue water? Was
Don't remember that one. Does that Blue Water sound familiar? No.
burn all the way down.
Oh, wow. Yeah, not much you can do with that, you
Yeah,
know,
it was.
you let it burn.
River, but our campus reset, so I just zoomed in and.
Yeah. Everybody
That
okay,
stuff
I'm
must be-
assuming?
Well, I was worried about it drifting down river.
Oh, yeah.
And when it hit Riverview first, caught that whole marina on fire. And then maybe came down to S, so. It hit
Yeah.
The rocks, fire department got it secured.
Okay.
And by the time it was pretty much done.
Yeah,
Can you recap for the,
sorry.
Yeah.
Do what?
just to make sure that people heard?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You want to repeat what you said?
Just
There-
louder, please.
Louder. I'm sorry. Yeah, she was just talking about an incident down on the Sacramento River. Yeah, so. All right. This is, I don't know if it's gonna work, but maybe, probably not. So this is our page where, oh, it's actually working. So this is where you're going to find on our homepage, the Response Equipment Grant Program. We have the grant application. Again, it is a one-page grant application. And then we have a list of all of our grantees on here for everyone to use. We have our FAQ, which is in your communication spill kit, so that hasn't changed. And then we have a map of all of our trailers where they are located in California. Is anyone familiar with IRMA, the NOAA mapping? Okay, so it's public. So it's under the Southwest tab. Yeah, so you can go on IRMA, Southwest IRMA, and look at response equipment grants or response equipment trailers, I believe, and then you can see where they all are, who owns them, how much equipment, how much boom is on there, contact information. It's a great resource. And I think that is it on that. And here's just some additional information if you need that. And I believe that's also in our communication packet.
Our website is a good resource for, sensitive sites, so you guys can go and play around with that, go onto the site and, find any sensitive sites in your area. The team up in West Sac, they're really good, Anna. Does
Yeah.
a good job with that, the
Burkholder.
sensitive sites, yeah,
Yeah.
so.
So sensitive sites is our priority. We're gonna protect those. Econ sites, we do have those econ sites listed in the San Francisco Bay Delta Area Contingency Plan. Is anyone familiar with our ACP here? Okay, there is a QR code over here on the table. You can look at that, but that is our planning document that we work with. We co-chair that committee with Coast Guard. And we have our, industry folks, we have our contractors, we have local agencies, federal agencies, state agencies. We all come together every couple months and we have a meeting and we talk about the area contingency plan. That document is a couple thousand pages, but in that document in section 9800, it does list out all of our environmentally sensitive sites, but in that section, I think it's the section below that, it does identify all the econ sites. But again, probably more than you need to know, but if you are ever interested in attending those meetings, that's where we do all the oil spill planning. You're gonna see industry, you're gonna meet all the federal folks, state folks, but that's our committee that we plan for when we do have an oil spill. So it's kind of cool to go to those and just meet people and get that information kind of firsthand. And they are also virtual. So if that's of interest to you, I know that Vivian will provide that contact who you need to email to get on that committee if you're interested. So.
Yeah, you have a question from Joseph White, who is with the City of Newport Beach Harbor Department, and he wants to know, is there a good time of year to reach out if we are running low on items such as absorbent boots?
So the best time is when I get my funding, which is the beginning of July. We, our fiscal year is July to June 30th. So that's how our fiscal year is set up. So you can reach out to me the beginning of July-ish, or you can reach out to me sometime in like right now, March or April.
And Marisa asked to Mike to repeat what he said exactly about what, Marisa, if you can just let us know exactly when he was referring to which part that you want him to repeat. And while Marisa is typing, I wanted to remind everybody that in the email we're going to send you later on as a follow-up, the information about your local contact for the area ACPs will be included there, as well as the packet, as well as how you can reach to all of us. But in addition to that, the list of the grantees that we mentioned today as part of the equipment, the response equipment grant. Okay, so Marisa is not repeating what Mike said.
Oh, no, I'm right. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Right.
Feel free to repeat, Marisa, what you wanted him to repeat, please.
Thank you. The sound faded out for a moment, but it's okay. It's just everybody in the room, when you and the main presenter can be heard very clearly, but other folks in the room, when they're speaking, they're a little far from the mic. So maybe if they speak extra loud, it's easier to hear them.
Okay.
And I'll stop typing. Thank you. Bye.
No problem. No problem. Okay, so we are reaching out the last portion of this workshop. We will be sending you all the evaluation form, but I'm going to include it here right now in the chat so you can start, probably the people in virtually helping us. For the rest of the team, I'll send it to you via email with all the handouts again that we covered today. But before we wrap up our workshop, I have a couple of things that I wanted to bring to your attention. So I have here discount coupons for the new electronic marine flares that probably you have heard about them. If you want to, please take this and bring them to your marina. That would be fantastic. So boaters can take advantage of these discount coupons. I'm going just to put them in the main table. And I want to give the opportunity to people joining us virtually just to see if you have any questions about any section of the workshop. And also give you guys the opportunity to start thinking about your question, just to give this time around the opportunity for people in the virtual room just to tell us. Do you have any questions? No, everybody is okay? All right, people here in the room, do you have any questions? No?
The segments of the area that they sell on that a lot, and I know marine mammals in specific areas make the area would be more sensitive. So I'm talking more about the code. It was kind of barren for many years. Now we're having marine mammals underneath it. Is that going to be, the marina is inside of the boat? I mean, as far as you can get. So that makes it a much more marine sensitive area than it used to be. Same with the eelgrass, eelgrass. Well, would that help with the backup equipment, you know, different types of equipment that we use for that area? Because when we have that now, it's inviting itself back.
I mean, there's nothing you can do with the hard boom. We had hard boom at Hyde Street in San Fran, and there was sea lions get on top of the boom while it was petroleum product inside. There's nothing you can do about it.
Well, it's not, I know that they're gonna deal with it.
Yeah.
I'm talking about making it, they for a while, they thought, okay, it's not as sensitive an area anymore because it doesn't have stuff that needs to be protected. But now it's much more sensitive. Because of marine mammals, now there's this eelgrass which is grown down in the cove. So it's become a much more sensitive area than what it used to be.
Yeah, with that, so I think what I'm hearing you say is that, would it change, our,
You're looking. at-
yeah, like our criteria would be like, oh, okay, yes, you have,
It would
you
be
know,
important to keep stuff moved into our marina if there's a spill, because that marina, those mammals are now there. again.
so here's the thing. No, it wouldn't change how we would look at your marina. We wouldn't change the criteria. Would that be good to know? Absolutely, that's good to know, right? We would pass that information on to the Old Wildlife Care Network and say, you know, there seems to be a population of, you know, sea lions or seals or whatever in that area. So if there were a spill, OWCN would show up, their trained people would show up, and they would probably do like some type of, noisemakers or whatever to try to deter those, hazing and, hazing to deter those, you know, those animals or mammals from coming into that area, the spilled area, if that makes sense. But would it change our criteria that we're looking at to provide a response equipment grant trailer? No, but it's just good to know. I probably wouldn't say, oh, you have mammals here, but you still have to have all the other, you know, criteria, right? There has to be obviously a waterway, there has to be a threat of a petroleum release, you have to have the people to deploy the boom, you have to have boats or jet skis or some way to get that boom deployed. So that's kind of what we're looking at. But yeah, is it good to know that that's an area where,
Yeah, the marine mammals, they actually, last couple of years ago, they look at that.
yeah,
I got,
Yeah.
you know, harbor seals are not coming back in.
Never seen before.
And they've been brought to the Navy. And they were using the code for shooting them, remember that Stephen Troutman, that went over the water. And so the marina, in their, you know, wanting to build a new one, so, well, we need to evade the shot. Well, there's somebody spent a lot of money evading the shot.
The Navy did,
The Navy wanted to evade a lot of shots, red side, and so I let the Marine Mammal Center know, hey, there's a Marine Mammal Center now permanently, they're kind of always in the code now, which is that's a good thing. And I know that they had put buoys out in the market, they did what was field grass, and then every year they were coming out and they were moving those buoys further and the field grass is going back. And that's why the fishing is better in the day. So.
yeah, that's why you see the mammals.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's a food supply. So, I mean, I think, you know, you have to be, you know, aware of there's mammals here, and anytime we do anything, we want to make sure that we're giving that, you know, that space to those, you know, to those animals. But you know, for a response equipment trailer, I wouldn't say it would get you a trailer easier because.
I'm gonna contact this,
Yeah.
This SF fire department has a unit on the island now. I think they're permanently based there now, before we just kind of city. Since a lot of those buildings are now being permanently occupied.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go back to that again and say, hey, look, let's do something about getting something.
Yeah. What did Marine Mammals tell you? What did Marine Mammal Center, did they mention it?
They were actually.
Oh, okay.
They set people down.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's Frank over there, and that's.
Yeah.
Over here, you know.
We're not supposed to name them.
Yeah, we haven't seen pups yet. But
Okay.
We've seen a couple of them that are definitely almost always in the marina. And I just kind of keep a little, I used to be there. I used to be over there, June 6th, I saw them, whatever, that was in there. And I started giving that information to this one researcher, and she was like a little surprised that they were actually coming that far into the bay off the city, because most of them are on the city. It's like, well, the eelgrass is growing, now there's fish in here, now there's fish out there in the anchorage where all the larks are, because that's where all, you know, all the fishing boats are out there. So they,
And I think that's great information to have, because if there is a spill there, then we know there is a known population there, and that we need to get, you know, our wildlife folks over there to start, you know, taking care of that. So.
Okay,
Yeah, but as far as the trailer, I mean, yeah, I don't think I would use that as part of my criteria, but I would probably share that information, and you've already shared it with Marine Mammal Center. So it's really good information to know in case if we ever have a spill.
we got a question, Olivia, and here Mike is saying that he will be in touch with you soon for your training. because he lives near your area.
Put her in contact with,
Yeah,
Cindy,
she will-
so I'll stop.
Okay, that Mike will stop by there, and she's also saying the grant provided the purchase of a generator for the trailer, unfortunately was stalled, and is there funds for replacement?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, good news, good news. So the previous conversation for people joining us virtually was mainly, again, trying just to find how private marinas can partner with public marinas to make sure you guys have access to the grant is possible. Cindy and her team had done tremendous work and magic there, so it is possible. So don't give up. And more questions. We are, I think, 5 minutes over the time, so I want just to make sure that I respect your stomachs and your lunch time. Any question in the room? Any question in the virtual room, please? Last call. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us. We're trying just to make sure that everybody is included in our presentation. Sometimes having technology is not perfect, you know, it comes and goes, but we are excited to see that we're reaching to several counties, excuse me, where we're not going to go for many reasons. So this is a great way to reach out to everybody. You will be receiving the follow-up email. People virtually, please help us with the evaluation, and I'll send to the rest of the team the follow-up email with the evaluation in the links and our contact information. Have a great Thursday, Easter, and happy Thursday, everybody. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah.